What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson, with more than 2 decades in sales. I've seen it, I've heard about it, I've lived through it, and now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community, because let's be honest, sales is the greatest job in the world. It gives us every opportunity to live the life that we want, make as much money as we want, and to be honest, it gives us some crazy stories to share with our people. And that's why we're here. And today's guest is someone I'm pretty dang excited to have on. I've had the pleasure of watching him move and groove online over the last 5 years. He is probably the car slangingest meme lord I have ever met. This is my homie, Mr. Ryan Mason. What's up, bro?
Hey, how are you? I assume you can hear me fine still. Everything's good?
Yes, sir. We're crushing it.
Yep. Perfect. Great. Yeah, everything's good today, man. I'm super excited to be here. Like you said, we've known each other for some time, and just to watch you grow as well. It's really been a great opportunity to learn from, and just to see some of that with this community that we have has been really amazing. So I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate you taking some time, man. I know you do a lot of car slanging, meme making, and good time having, which is why I wanted to bring you on and have you share one of your craziest sales stories, man. You're in the auto industry, so I know you probably got some crazy stories for us.
Some of it really isn't so much with the people that you see, right? You see enough people, there's just some wild people out there. I think it's one of those things, math by numbers. If you get in front of enough people, there's going to be some crazy people that come through. You know, with the dealership stuff, you also see other dealers and other salesmen, some of the crazy things that they'll do. And it should really be no secret to the sales industry that there is some drug habits that maybe are involved from time to time. And before I got to the dealership, actually, this is who I replaced when I was hired. So it's a funny start. He was somebody who had taken one of our vehicles. They were, it was borrowing it from the dealership and was out on a bender. And they found him, the police found him actually on the side of the road one day. So, in the dealer car. So that's an exciting story. Not really involved with me on that one. One of my favorite with some of the people that I had experienced before, I had some people come in and I assumed somebody had dropped them off, but I didn't know that to be true. Turns out they just walked in off the street. They had asked to test drive a car, kind of went through the process, took their ID. And it's one of those things where we actually have a pretty small dealership. So normally it's me, one other salesman, and the owner. That day, luckily, there was 2 of us there because normally if there's not, we put somebody out in the car by themselves. On this occasion, I was available. So I went on the test drive with them. We get 20 minutes down the road and not really talking too much. You just kind of, sitting in the back seat, kind of taking it all in. And I just asked a question. I said, hey, where are we going in this test drive? Like, we don't have a set route. It's all good. I'm not going to try to sway somebody down. And they said, well, actually, we just need to get to X town over. And they were trying to drive this car about an hour away. And I guess we're just expecting me to chauffeur them back. And so I had to break the news to them. I said, hey, I'm not going to be able to do that. I can get you back to the dealership. And they said, well, we're just going to get dropped off right here and you can take it back. So they got out of the car and back to the dealership I went. Kind of the audacity of some people,
That reminds me of the meme where it's like, it's like, hey man, look out for this dude. He came over to look at my washer and dryer, washed his clothes, and then left. Didn't even pay for it. Like,
yeah.
I can't imagine though, like sitting in the back seat for 20 minutes and just cruising along and being like, where the hell are we going? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, we're talking about it a little bit, and then it kind of, got quiet after the first 5-10 minutes. There's really no questions, and then it's, what's going on, man? Like, you're sitting there for a couple minutes. It's like, do I say something? Is this really happening?
It's like, am I being kidnapped right now? Are they taking me off into the woods?
Don't know. A little sus.
That's a little sus, bro.
For sure.
But one of the things that I've talked to some guys in the auto industry, and like, again, I've heard some crazy stories. I've heard about some crazy, the drug addictions and the things that go on. I mean, dude, the number of stories that I've had already on this show about like, well, we had this guy came in, fucking just totally conked out, and wouldn't you know, he's face first in the keyboard, drooling on himself. And you're just like, what is wrong with people? Well, sales brings all types, and when you come from those backgrounds, man, sometimes it be like that. But one of the things I love about you, and as I mentioned earlier, man, you are a fellow meme lord. You do incredible things with memes. And I also know that you make a lot of sales through the memes that you create and that you share. So tell me a little bit about your journey with memes. Like, how did you start using them? What was it that kind of like set you apart? And like, to share that with us, man.
I guess the back end of that is really I come from a nerdy background, right? So I consider myself a closet nerd, and you look at me, it's not something you're probably going to see all the time. But as you start to talk to people and I start to talk to you, eventually it's going to be revealed. And yeah, so just starting out in the sales journey, I started from a good experience knowing cars. My dad runs a mechanic shop and he's done that for some time. So I had that background getting in. The first year in car sales, I sold 126 cars. And by all means, that is the national average, probably. The average person selling 10 to 12 a month, you do the math, it's about 130. So you come from a position where when you're thinking about selling, there's two parts, right? You have people coming in and being able to close that sale and having a closing ratio. And I think that's a lot of focus for a lot of people. And that's what I see it from a lot of dealerships. But something a lot of people don't focus on that I think needs to is how many people can you get in front of? And if your closing ratio is only 10%, but you get in front of 200 people, you could be the best closer in the world. And if you close 70, 80% and you're getting in front of 15 people, 50 people, who's going to have the better ratio? And so that's where the sales meme process kind of came in. I started learning a lot about organic and paid marketing, and I use those memes to do both, right? In my follow-up right now, things that I have is if somebody starts to ghost me, I have an automatic process that comes through, right? If we get a lead, it goes into a drip. They get a text, email, and a voicemail within 5 minutes of submitting a lead through cars.com, Carfax, wherever it comes. So I'm touching them. If they're looking at 5 other cars or whatever, at least now they've got this conversation. So I get that started. And if they start to ghost me or something like that, I think you use the same thing where you've got the guy standing around that meme, says, hey, where are you? And then I've got one meme. If they ghost me for 5 days, I never see them again. I go ahead and send them this meme. It automatically does it, right? It's in the system. One of the two. But it pops up and it says, it's just a picture of somebody holding the phone. It says, hey, are you okay? I'm about to call 911. I didn't know if everything's all right. I haven't heard from you in some time. And just goes into a little pitch about, whatever they're looking at. So that's always good. But yeah, I started off using them before that to get business, right? When I started running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, stuff like that. Memes were a great way to break the cycle of somebody's scroll, right? They're scrolling through Facebook. They see all kinds of stuff every day. You're stopping that scroll. You're engaging them a little bit with a meme and humor. And then they're clicking on it. Well, what's this guy talking about? So instead of just saying, hey, buy my stuff, you're entertaining them and then drawing them in to sell them something. And that was kind of where the meme process started. And then over time, that just grew into videos and more stuff like that. So.
And you said something that I want to touch on because I think it's really powerful in that you had mentioned you're a little bit nerdy. Right, you kind of like some nerdy things. I know you have an awesome video game computer behind you. I can see you got the dope keyboard, the nice chair. Like you're pro gamer mode. And
that one's okay. You should see the one I'm standing in front of.
I imagine that one's even better, right? And I know you're into 3D printing. You have a drone. You do some different camera work. I've seen the car that you built. You're a very, very unique individual.
Build some of these guys,
dude. That's rad. That thing's so rad. I don't have any drones, but
you're just under 100 miles an hour. So,
Jesus, criminy. See, a little bit of a nerd, no big deal. It's fine. But the reason I bring that up is I believe that your authenticity, the way that you're just like, hey man, this is me, this is who I am, this is how I roll. The content that you put out there, everything that you do is very authentically you. And I believe that drives a lot of quality business your way. Which is where you found that you kind of touched on this, like in sales, hey man, I can either try to close every single person that comes through the door, which honestly becomes a grind and is not fun because now you're literally selling people things they don't want just to get a sale. Or
if they're not a good fit, they're not a good fit.
If they're not a good fit, they're not a good fit, man. That is one of the best things I've heard on this show of it because it's so true. And yet the other side of that, as you said, is like, hey, if I can learn how to get in front of more people, you'll make more sales just as a rule of thumb. And I think that in sales, the marketing side of it gets so overlooked by people that get used to being spoon-fed, like ups in a dealership, or it's like, oh man, I get 26 leads a day from the company. You don't have the same sort of mentality of like, when you're generating your own deals, you're writing your own paycheck. Because now if you happen to change industries or go to another location It's not about rebuilding your pipeline. It's just about letting people know, yo, I'm over here now. Come fuck with me. Let's ride. And you do an amazing job of that. So I just wanted to commend you on that, because that's how you go from selling the national average 10, 12 cars a month to like, what did you do? 300 cars last year or something crazy?
I've sold 300 for the last 3 years in a row. Yeah, through COVID, through everything, the last 3 years I've had 300 plus. The most I've sold is 334. And to caveat that a little bit, right? This is from a dealership that has right now probably 30 cars on the lot, 30 to 40 cars total. So this isn't some mega dealer with 400 cars that I'm just rolling through people. These are leads that I'm generating on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. There's still leads coming through cars.com, Carfax, and stuff like that. And as time progressed through the dealership, I actually took on a lot of that marketing role as well to start handling some of those things in the back end process and how those people are touched coming in. The advantage that I have working at a small dealership too, however, is there's not a lot of people in the way for me to do other things, right? So I get to handle, there's not an F&I guy. I am the F&I guy. I am the salesman. I'm not a door greeter, but I will meet you at the door and I will tell you about this vehicle. And it makes it a lot more powerful sales process in a dealership. And I think this is something that other dealerships need to realize is like when you're handing somebody off for 7 to 8 people, you lose a lot of that confidence and trust that know, like, and trust, right? That's what you're getting in front of when we talk about authenticity. You're losing that from person to person, and it's making it a lot harder to close somebody.
That's such a good point. I never thought about that. But like when I look back at my dealership experiences, for the most part, other than the last couple, I've got a pretty good guy down in Fort Worth that I've worked with. But prior to that, a lot of the dealership experiences, like you walk in, you get one guy that meets you at the door and he realizes that, you know, he ain't got your up. So he's just like, hey, what's up? He lets you in the door. And then the next guy's like, oh, let me introduce you to the so-and-so to this guy. And you're like, okay, cool. And you talk to this guy and you tell him what you want. And I don't know. I've always been weird about salespeople. Like I don't know if I'm judging them because I'm in sales or like it's just one of those things, you know, or like you said, sometimes there's just a difference in styles. Sometimes you're a little more nerdy. Sometimes you're a little more, you know, sporty. It just depends. But by the time you end up getting there, and then you find the car that you want, and then you got to go sit with the dealer, the finance guy, and that dude's got a whole different mindset and mentality. And you're just like, fuck, I've been here 6 hours, man. I'm just trying to get this car and get the fuck out of here.
And there's a difference between making a profit and manipulating somebody into buying things they don't need to, you know. And I see that a lot with big dealerships. It's very upsetting. You know, you could have somebody that comes in and pays 80% down for a car or whatever. They've only financed a few $1,000s. Why are you selling them gap coverage that covers if their loan is, you know, upside down? They're never going to be upside down in that loan. Or we have a dealership here local that sells they sell a flash. It's a little module they plug in, right? And it makes the third brake light flash. And they charge you $200, $300 for that. Etching fee, somebody's taking a stamp and just stamping something or lasering glass in this dealership, you know, something that costs them a few dollars to do. They're upselling $200 or $300. If my car, like the etching fee is for things that are stolen. If my car is stolen and dismembered to the point that they're looking for numbers on glass, I don't want it back anyway. You know, and it's just one of those things. What are you actually providing as a service? And does your customer want it and need it? And if you can meet both of those, you're going to sell a lot of stuff. And you don't have to try to high pressure people into things. I've never been a high pressure closer. I'll ask you to sign on the line, but if you're not comfortable with that, I'm not the person that's going to sit here and run you through the ringer to try to get you to do that. I would rather say, okay, that's fine. Maybe I'm not the strongest closer, and I'll admit that. But if I get in front of 200 people, I am good at marketing, right? I just got to get in front of more people, and I'll find the right people that connect with me. And those people you don't force the sale on are the ones that are going to come back because they're comfortable with you. And it's just a long-term process that works out really well. So
it is, and I love that you had mentioned that because it's, again, I'm not a high-pressure sales guy either. I'm very much like, here's what I got. Yeah, here's where the benefit is. Do you want it? If not, I'm not going to hound you. If I know it's a good fit and you're telling me like in some subtle way that you want it, like, yeah, I'm going to try to, all right, now you told me this is exactly what you want, Mr. Johnson. So what is it that's keeping you from doing this deal? What is it that's, you know, we could go deep on objection handling, but one of the things I always like to ask on this, Ryan, is, you know, if you had to think about it, in all of the things that you've utilized in your sales skills, if you had to pick one like secret superpower for sales that you would say you have, what is it?
Just consistency more than anything. I think there's a lot of inconsistency with everything, messaging, follow-up process, right? If you just build, and we were talking about this a little bit before as well, systems in place. If you have systems in place and you follow them, it doesn't matter, how things turn out on one deal. As long as you're consistently doing everything and you're doing it right, by large numbers, that's going to work. And I think a lot of it for a lot of people is just giving up after one or two tries. And so like consistency and follow-up, we talk about how I have an automated setup to follow for people for 5 weeks before I put them on a slow drip, to where maybe it's every 2 weeks instead. It's just getting in front of people and being consistent and making sure that you're known, liked, and trust. It's that easy. So.
Have you ever experienced a situation where you had handed a deal off to somebody and you literally watched as they didn't follow the process, and then you came back just a little while later and walked in and just basically like closed that deal in one conversation, and they got mad and they're like, well, what the fuck, man? Why'd you? Like, you didn't do the thing. You didn't call the damn leads, sir. I can look right here. They just walked in and bought. What do you mean?
Yeah. We've talked about a little bit of how I'm transitioning from auto sales into this marketing and CRM stuff. And there's a lot of that, right, where you're used to generating these leads and you know that the process is being followed on the back end because you're the one doing it. Well, if you're handing that stuff off, they're like, oh, these leads suck. I've seen shitty leads. I know what they look like. And these, how you're collecting leads changes, right? I know that how these are coming in are not that, right? How you're speaking to a customer ahead of time, building your client avatar. I'm not delivering you somebody that's looking for a handout. I'm looking, they're looking for value, not a commodity. Yeah, it's just, if you don't have that process in place, and if somebody's calling them one time or shooting them a text or just hoping them they're going to walk through the door tomorrow, it's not going to pay off all the time. And how much are you leaving on the table by that first phone call not being answered and not even leaving a voicemail,
When I started Call the Damn Leads originally, and if you guys are hearing this and haven't already, go back and listen to the first episode, the origin story. That's literally how this company started. I had a marketing company when I first got into phone sites. I got a couple clients, fucking real estate agents. If you're listening and you're in real estate, like, I love you, but some of you guys are idiots. Just being honest. Not you specifically that's hearing this, but the other guys that are idiots. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're not an idiot. They're here looking for value. So
yeah, they're here, so they're not dumb. They're smart. They're here. Good work, y'all. But I'll never forget. I had a guy hire me. He had, he was trying to get buyer leads and some listings, and he had one condo that he wanted to list. So we put up this condo. We got it running. We got 100 leads in 1 month. And I reached out to him and was like, hey, man, what's the deal? How's it going? It's like, oh, these leads suck, man. Like, I think I'm going to need a refund. Like, I'm spending all this money to market this property that hasn't sold and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, well, that don't sound right. I'm looking at 100 leads. He's like, yeah, they all suck, man. Nobody was interested. I was like, really? So I picked up the phone. I started calling them. Wouldn't you know it? Yeah. Hey, man, when can I come see that place? What's the deal? Is it still for sale? Like, can I send it? Where do I send a contract? Like, I'll buy it as is. I don't even need to come see it. I'm like, got it. Send it here.
Figure out where the disconnect was.
Yeah. So I pick up the phone and I call the guy. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to just be honest with you. I sent you an email just now. There's 3 people that want to come see the house, and there's 2 people that sent signed contracts. Call the goddamn leads. Here's your refund. Don't ever bother me again.
Yeah.
Insanity. Call the leads.
And at some point too, you get to a point where it's what is your time worth and who is the correct client for you. And those people that are not willing to put in the work, or at least take personal responsibility at some point, probably are not the ideal client, and you can sell those people and make money, but at the cost of your own stress and at the cost of your own time. And how much time are those people consuming on the back end where you're like, okay, maybe something is wrong and you're looking through it. And maybe it is. Maybe I did mess something up. I don't know. But it's just burning a lot of time for no reason.
I always talk about this, man. Time is our most valuable asset. There is no question about it. You can't buy it, can't win it, can't get it in a poker tournament. You don't get it. You can't 3D print that shit as cool as it would be. But Ryan, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. I know you were telling me like your one day off that you take a week, and yet you were still here pouring some value, sharing some stories with us, man. So I truly appreciate that. If the listener got some value out of this, they want to come check out some of the cool drone shots that you're doing or some of the 3D printing stuff, or just getting some of the value out of the content that you post, what's the best way for them to find you on social media?
Yeah, social media, easiest way to find me is on Facebook's going to be the easiest. It's Ryan Mason, RyanMason. It's ITS. So it's Ryan Mason on Facebook. If you want to see some of my drone work, all you got to do is hit the World Wide Web and type in getdronephotos.com. Nice little landing page that's going to pop up there for you to check out some of my portfolio. So that'll be fun for you.
Heck yeah, that is awesome, Ryan. I appreciate that. And before we get out of here, I always like to ask, because sales is the only industry that you can literally come from any background, any personality type, any religion, any race, doesn't matter. Sales will give you an opportunity, and there's new people entering this industry every day. My hope is that that new individual is here listening to us right now, and I would want to know if you can give that person one piece of advice on how to go on and be successful in this business, what would it be?
Yeah, learn a lot about your product, become an authority in your marketplace, right? Learn a lot, know what you're doing, and then just be authentic about it, right? If you don't know something, tell somebody you don't know. Just be authentic. They'll like you. You're a likable person, right? You're here, you're learning. If you're in a position where you're willing to learn and be better, they're going to like you for that. So just be authentic, keep showing up, and you're going to eventually make it work.
Be authentic, keep showing up, and do the damn work. Brother, this has been a fantastic episode. As always, man, I truly appreciate your time and getting a chance to chat with you. Meme Lord to Meme Lord, I love seeing you crush it, man, so I'm proud of you. I'm excited for your journey and all things coming for you in the new year. And more than anything, if you guys hear this and you got some value, share it with your friends, share it with your fellow sales professionals, put it on social media, tag us at Call the Damn Leads. Let us know you got something out of this, because that's what it's all about. We wouldn't take time out of our day to be here to share this with you if we didn't think it was going to be fun, we didn't think it was going to be entertaining, and we didn't think that you would get some sort of value out of the conversation. So if you liked it, share it. If you've got some crazy stories, again, sales has got an industry where you can literally go through and have all kind of stuff happen. If you've got a story, I want to share it on the show. Go to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send me your information. Let me know what your story's about. We'll get you here. We'll get it out there, because, again, it's the greatest industry in the world. Any background, any personality, you can literally write your own check and create your own life if you do the work, if you're authentic, and if you stay consistent, like my friend Ryan Mason. So, Ryan, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Always good. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. You guys know what to do. Go call the damn leads. We'll see you on the next one.